Hey friend, and welcome back to the Alex Makes VR podcast. In today's episode, it's episode number 50. I am so excited. It's episode 50. I cannot believe it. Genuinely, I cannot believe that we're at episode 50 already. If you've been listening for a while now, thank you so much. I appreciate your support. And if you're new here, welcome. I hope that you'll dive back into the back catalogue and get a lot of value and act on some of the advice and the things that we've been talking about. In today's episode, I really wanted to give you probably like the best bit of advice that I've ever been given. When I started thinking about episode 50, I started thinking like, well, maybe I should do an episode about like the best advice, or like maybe I should think about, what are the key things that I wish I'd known sooner when starting my virtual reality company. And it dawned on me, no matter which way I sliced it, whenever I was thinking about the biggest thing that's had the biggest impact on my career and business, it comes down to one question. When I first started working in virtual reality, I had a mentor who didn't necessarily work in VR, but she was a fantastic business and marketing kind of person. And she told me this one simple question, and it totally changed my life. It changed the way I thought about every interaction that I had with every single potential client. And honestly, it led me to land so many more jobs. So really what I'm saying is I kind of owe that woman a lot of money. But in this episode, I want to tell you what that question is. What is the one question you can ask to land more 360 and VR clients? So I'll be diving into that. If this is your first time here, or even if you're a regular listener, I love to hear from you. I love to hear about topics you might want me to cover in future. Please reach out to me on Instagram or Twitter. Alex Makes VR is my handle. I also send out a really regular newsletter with some of the tips and tricks and insider scoops that I'm finding in the VR industry, in both the creative side, but also the business, and how to level up your career in this space. So if you want to sign up for that newsletter, you can do so at alexmakesvr.com. Okay, with that said, let's jump in to today's episode. Okay, enough anticipation, enough of a build-up. Alex, for God's sake, just tell us what the question is. Here it is. It's so simple, but it's so powerful. Are you ready? The question is, what problem do you need solving? I'll say it again. What problem do you need solving? That is the question that will change your business. I promise you. Now, obviously, that's not the end of the episode. Let me give you more context, because I'm not suggesting that you go into every single potential sales opportunity or marketing opportunity and literally just say those words. What problem do you need solving? I'm not suggesting that you go in there and just reel that off every time. But what I'm suggesting is that everything you do to get more clients, to pitch more work, everything you do up until the point that they agree that they want to buy your services or products, everything you do needs to be from the point of view of what problem do you need solving. So, for example, if a client comes to you and says, hey, well, to be fair, this mainly works when you're doing the outreach, right? Because if someone comes to you, they already kind of have an instinct that VR or 360, whatever it is that you offer, is the solution to their problem. But you still need to ask the question. If someone comes to you and says, oh, yes, I'm working for this client and we really want to do something innovative and we'd like to hire you to create a virtual reality experience for us. Your first questions should still be, what problem is it that you are looking to solve? Why do you think VR can solve that problem? That's really what you're kind of trying to get to here, right? So even if a client comes to you and already thinks that they want VR, don't just be like, okay, great, that's going to be $8,000 or whatever. Make sure you take the time to really understand what that company's problem is. Because until you understand the problem, you couldn't possibly know whether VR or 360 is actually the right solution. The other great thing about this is once you know their problem, you can quantify that problem. And all of a sudden, that changes in that client's mind. It changes the way that they think about your product and service, because no longer are they just seeing your product and service as an expense. They're seeing your product or service as a solution to a problem that they have. And generally speaking, a problem in a business is costing them money. Doesn't matter whether it's the problem they're trying to solve is that they need to try and get to new customers. They need to replace their physical experience with a virtual one, or they are hemorrhaging money on training and they want something that's a bit more effective. Whatever their problem is, it's costing them money in some form, or either they're not getting more money through the door, generating leads or converting more sales, or they're hemorrhaging money in areas where they could be saving it, in which case that's still a problem, right? That's still like that's still costing them money to have, whether it's a lengthy recruitment process that's taking their staff longer and it's, leading to lack of retention, which then costs them more money to go out and find new employees, or whatever it might be. Everything you do up until the point that and even when you're working on a project, even when you're kind of like, I always do this, especially when I'm storyboarding and scripting with a client, is I will always recheck in every so often to be like, okay, but so what problem is this solving? This scene, what problem is this solving? What are we trying to communicate? What does the end result need to be? And how can we make sure that we're doing that? Checking in constantly with, is this solving the problem? What's their problem and how can you solve it with VR and 360? If you're doing outreach, this is where I think it has the most impact. This is where when I say that this changed my life, this is definitely the area that I'm referring to. When I was like outreaching for new clients, when I was having initial calls or initial emails or meetings or whatever it was, with people that had never really even heard about VR before, the last thing you want to do is go into that situation like super like fired up and passionate and just rant at them about the technology. Oh, it's so exciting. Oh, you can do this, you can do that. Oh my God, there's like this quality and you could do this option and you could do this option. No. That's going to totally overwhelm them. It might get them a little bit excited, but it's going to completely waste your time in terms of narrowing down what exactly they want. When you go into a situation where you're trying to sell a product or service, really what you're doing is trying to find out very quickly as possible, whether or not you can actually solve their problem. And again, as soon as you've positioned it that way, all of a sudden, you selling it totally changes the way that you feel about it, because you actually genuinely believe that you can solve their problem. You're not just taking their money. You're not just, just kind of like selfishly wanting to make work. You are actually solving their problem. And on the client side, they didn't even know that, they might not have even known that VR or 360 existed before you came to them, before you reached out. They didn't know like that was a solution to their problem. And even if a client thinks they don't have a problem, they've always got a problem, right? Because companies always need new marketing. They need more people coming into their system. They need more clients themselves. They need more tighter efficiencies. They need more marketing material. They need more ways to like help convert more sales. Businesses, obviously, they're just engines that kind of run constantly through that cycle of marketing, getting more people in, then converting them because they've got such a great product or they're the best, then kind of retaining that client and working with them and again. So there's always problems to be solved, but not every problem is going to require VR or 360 as the solution. So I would recommend when you're doing outreach, you first try to understand what that client's problem is. What problem are you trying to solve? So in your outreach, say, for example, I know that if you've listened to past episodes, I will have flogged this horse to death. What's the saying? I will have flogged this poor metaphorical horse to death. But let's say VR training. If you reach out to someone and you say, let's say you reach out to a head of learning and development at a company. If you just went in there and said, hi, I make virtual reality training and it's really, it's exciting, and you can be a market leader, you can be innovative, maybe you'll get a response. Maybe they'll be vaguely interested if they are that kind of person. But I promise you that if you can reach out and say, hey, I know that one of your biggest issues as a head of L&D is saving time and money for your company with training, or looking for ways to engage your trainees so that they make less mistakes on the shop floor. Or I know that, your problem is XYZ or whatever it is. Pick a problem and then outline why you think VR or 360 is the solution to that problem. Or even just be more generic than that. Reach out. Are you looking for ways to make your training more efficient? Are you looking for ways to just like trying to kind of like bait them almost by trying to guess what their problem is? But when you get them on the phone, or if you're doing cold outreach on the phone, or even if someone comes to you, again, I'm not suggesting that you actually say the words, what problem are you looking to solve? Because that will be in the subtext. You will be able to, just from having a conversation with someone, just getting them to talk about themselves, getting them to talk about the company, getting them to talk about the project, whatever it is, you're going to be able to very quickly ascertain what problem they think you can solve for them. And if they're not clear on that, if they're a bit all over the place, we're thinking of this, we've had this idea to do this, but or maybe this, we've tried this before. You're going to look like a goddamn rock star if you say, okay, well, that's really interesting. Let's take this back a step. What problem is it that you've actually got? Like, what's the reason why you're exploring XYZ as potential projects to do? Oh, that's a really good point. So the reason we're doing that is because blah, blah, blah. In the last year, we've had a high turnover of staff and, we're just looking for a way to blah, blah, blah. So do you see what I mean? Like, you don't necessarily have to just ask, you don't have to ask that exact question, but what you're doing is you're completely changing your mindset so that when you go into any conversation ever really in business, you should always be thinking, what problem am I solving for this person? What value can I offer? That's really what you're doing. That's all running a company is, right? It's just like, what value can you offer this person? And the joke is, even though that question is so simple and that flip, that mindset switch that you're going in there trying to solve someone's problem rather than sell your own selfish needs, that switch, even though it's simple, is so rare that I promise you it will change everything for you. Every interaction that you have with potential clients or even existing clients, whether it's just, to be honest, just generally people in life, if you go into every situation thinking, how can I help this person? What is the problem that this person has and how can I solve it? I promise you it's going to change your business. So, my challenge for you is to go into the next month at least really conscious. Write it down. Write that question down. Have it on your phone. Have it on a sticky note on your laptop. Have it saved to pop up and do a little dance or something, just to remind you every single day, what problem do you need solving? That question, if you have that question front of mind, I think it's going to change everything for you. And I want to hear from you. I want you to spend the next month having that having that question to hand, changing the way that you have conversations with potential clients with that in mind. And I want to hear from you. I want to hear how you do. I want to hear the situations you've used it in. If you've got any questions about how to implement this, if you've got emails that you're like trying to write and would want to kind of like rejig them to incorporate this, reach out to me. I want to hear from you. Alex Makes VR on Instagram and Twitter. Like I said, I would also love it if you signed up for the newsletter so that you could receive all of these tips and tricks direct to your inbox. That is it for me on today's special episode number 50. If you liked this episode, I would love it if you took a second to follow and subscribe on the app that you're listening on. And I will speak to you very, very soon, my friends.